What is a strange, but harmless rule your family has? The last slice of birthday cake belongs to the person whose birthday it was made to celebrate. Not strange in and of itself. Strange in that my family had to actively spell it out. There is a framed photo of the girl which came with the frame among our other family photos on the cabinet. My grandpa received the frame and he died before he'd exchanged the photo, so we're just keeping it like that. When there are multiple dessert options after a large family meal, the lime jelly must be included in the options offered to everyone. But nobody may accept the lime jelly. Only my stepdad may have the lime jelly. The strange thing is that this was never a conscious decision we made. And it was never really noticed until I was 17. It was the first time my now partner was invited to a big family meal. After the meal, my grandma told us the dessert options as usual. Then looked to my partner first as he was a guest. He politely asked for lime jelly. For the awkward silence that followed, he might as well have asked if he could eat the cat. Then there was this weird awkward conversation where we had to explain the lime jelly rule, which we'd never consciously thought about before. It ended with my stepdad, for the first time in the 4 years he'd lived with us, deciding to have a different dessert so my partner could have the lime jelly. Americans, I think you call it Jell-O? The smooth wobbly stuff. Not the stuff you put in sandwiches. Edit. 2 most common questions. 1. Why only make one portion of jelly? Because only one person ever ate it. 2. Why offer it then? This thread is specifically for strange rules after all. No. It doesn't make sense. I think just a combination of habit. There used to be enough for everyone. And manners. Make sure the guest gets first choice. Youngest person that knows how to read hands out the Christmas presents. When eating a meal together, we have a certain sitting arrangement. But when drinking a coffee, me and my mum switch seats. Same table, different arrangement. When a guest leaves, you need to walk out to their car with them no matter what the weather. We were taught it's a sign of care and respect for the guests. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself. Edit. Well, actually the rule here with just my wife and I is, if you don't like the way I'm doing it, and you are such a control freak that you can't learn to live with the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself. We have a first day rule. You are not allowed to ask to play with or use any toys, items of your siblings on the first day they receive them. So birthdays and holidays that you get presents, you do not have to share with the others. And if they try, I wouldn't call it a rule. More of a tradition. Every Christmas Eve, after dinner and the presents etc., my mom, sometimes against our will, turns off the power in the house and makes us all play hide and go seek for at least 30 minutes. Some years we are all into it. Some years we aren't. But I never regret playing afterwards. It's great memories for the smaller folks and it's lots of laughs for the older ones. Overall would recommend. If it is a guest's first time attending movie night at my parents' house, the movie is always Pride and Prejudice 2005. How does this happen? Either an invitation is extended, phrased as "Would you like to come over and watch Pride and Prejudice?" Or a spontaneous decision is made to watch the movie after everyone has eaten dinner. It's never spontaneous. They always plan it. If someone declines to watch Pride and Prejudice, movie night suddenly becomes board game night. There is no other movie. When we need some time by ourselves, we say, "I'm going to do blank. Don't bother me." It's just our way of saying we need some alone time. Most of the shows we watch are recorded live, and then watched later in the week. Mother cannot control the remote. as she will skip the commercials and go 5 minutes further. Then spend just as long getting back to the correct stop as it would have been to watch the commercials in the first place. When you cook a turkey, you have to give it a lemon job. Started a few years ago, when my mom saw it online and thought it was the funniest thing. She passed away a couple years ago, and as kids have been doing it ever since. If you are the last person to leave the house, you need to put the radio on for the cat. When we have game night, whatever game we play, everyone must sit through a reading of the entire rule book and state that they understand the rules as they have been read. And any rule which has not been read shall not be included. House rules caused so many games to be all up, especially Monopoly. So we don't use house rules anymore. And by reading the rules every time. No Monopoly allowed. We tried it for a few family game nights. It never ended well. My wife donated all Monopoly versions. If you touch whatever is cooking, you become the cook. For example, if you come stir a pot or lift a lid, you own it. Exceptions are made for preventing something from overflowing or catching fire. Though if the latter happens, it may be best for someone else to take over. TLDR. Don't touch my stuff when I'm cooking, or I'll stop cooking. We do not fight at weddings. Cans of soda or beer are only to be consumed inside the house. People who drink out of a can outside are common. That's the only explanation I ever got from my mother, and she was very adamant about it. So, you want to drink something that came out of a can outside? Put it in a glass. Nope. I don't get it either. We all have ice cream or nobody has ice cream. Don't eat the whole friggin' carton solo. Oh. And using 2 icing on 1 toaster strudel apparently now carries the death penalty. Edit. Thanks for the gold. No sweeping or mopping at night. Mom and Dad claim it's bad luck, but I know it's 'cause they're tired of us quickly doing our chores as they pull up in the driveway. Good lucking even getting through the front door without being offered an alcoholic beverage, regardless of the time of day. If you find the gnome, you hide the gnome. Whenever anybody comes over, you put the kettle on. However, this may be the case for many British families. No books at the dinner table unless it's the dictionary. A serving of cookies is exactly 3 cookies. Santa exists regardless of age. 28 now. And my siblings and I are still not allowed to tell our mom Santa doesn't exist. No. Licking the dog. Food scraps that have no meat go in the compost bin. We've always composted. And we now have a new rule for always labeling the compost container that was implemented when my husband and I were first married. And he accidentally ate green bean casserole out of the compost container. It was a plain old Tupperware container. And my mom had just dumped casserole on top of the old coffee grounds and eggshells. So he didn't realize his mistake until he got down a level or so. Poor guy was traumatized. So, thusly, new rule to label all compost containers. Wasn't his fault. His family had never done anything like that. Lol. Both my parents are gone. But if we need confirmation that the other is not lying, we swear on their ashes. Not their actual ashes, those are buried. My nephews who are the 15th to the 25th of May try and lie, but once we pull out the ashes card, they cannot lie. Every year, we come together in November so everyone knows who they have to buy a present for. Because most of us are bad at thinking of presents. We always have to make wish lists, and you have to buy what's on the wish list. You have to keep a budget of €50 in mind so it won't be too expensive. My cousin often puts extra joke items on her list that are obviously too expensive. Because of that, It became an unwritten rule that if you get her name, you have to get a joke present for her that's not included in the $50 budget. For example, she was often talking about flamingos one year. So we got her an inflatable flamingo. Or we gave her a large plush husky because she loves huskies. 2 years ago, she was looking for land to build a house. So my grandma gave her land. But it was literally dirt in a pot. She always loves the joke presents we give her, and it always makes our Christmas Eve much funnier. Formerly known as "Don't talk about lungs at the dinner table" after the conversation which saw this rule implemented. We're basically not allowed to speak of anything that Daddy of Beans finds disgusting whilst at the dining table. This includes most body parts. Anything slimy or unnecessary, even he can't define that. Farts, smells, underwear, dog food, and a whole heap of things that even I am yet to find out about. Never whistle when you're near the pond. This was at my old family home. We moved away from there nearly 30 years ago. Strange thing is, when I ask my parents about this rule, they have no idea what I am talking about. I very much remember it being sort of a big deal. We aren't allowed to watch the Christmas movies until Christmas. My mom locks them up in a box in the attic and won't take them out until December. It's to make them more special than the other movies. You know how most people worship cats? We do that. But for ducks. As a child, if you repeatedly farted, you were sent to the bathroom. An understandable rule with basis in fact of what you probably needed to do if you were farting a lot. I never realized how funny it was until I was telling my husband about it and he lost it. You may not use any tools to open a gift. With one exception. A tool may be used if it was also presented as a gift during the same gift-giving event. Example. Going to get a pocket knife is prohibited. Using a pocket knife you normally carry is prohibited. If you are given a pocket knife as a present, it may be used to open other gifts at that time. There are no rules limiting how presents may be wrapped. Don't bother Dad while he's eating. I was a stay-at-home dad and did most of the cooking. After dishing up and serving everyone, I'd plate my food just in time for everyone to come back for seconds, which I would dish up for them. After a couple years of eating lukewarm food and the kids were big enough to dish up their seconds, I made the rule so I could actually have a hot meal. I still enforce this rule. You have to try a food twice before saying you don't like it. No one tells Mom that my sister and I didn't buy our graduation photos and just framed the sample photo with the huge watermark. We're all incredibly sarcastic and kinda rude to each other. It's how we show love, but to avoid any actual hurt feelings if anyone ever says the exact phrase, "Stop teasing." It's over and everyone apologizes. Grew up with this rule, and trust me, kindergarten was a rough awakening when bullies don't bend over backwards at my magic phrase. Overall good way to grow up, goofing around and joking with family, but make sure no one is actually offended when you roast them non-stop over something stupid.